Boker Tov, Shavua Tov, Surot Tovot. Today's daf is Daf Ayin Dalid in Bab Mציעא. As we learn from Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and Asum Basar V'Shivya. It says the Gemara right from the top of the page, Amar Rava. Hani Beit Lasa, three people, the Av Zuzi Lachad, three people all gave money together to one person, to one shliach, Lemezvin Lumidi, to buy something for them. V'Zavan Lachad Minayu. And he decided to buy it only for one of them. He didn't want to buy it in partnership for all three. He bought it for only one of them. Is that valid? Zavan Lekulim. No. If they had put all their money together into a pot and he took it as one lump sum and bought something, he can't claim he only bought it for Reuven, not for Shimon and Levi. It's for all of them. That's only if he didn't bind up, package up each person's money and seal it separately. If each person gave him his money sealed and separately, Reuben gave him one bag, Shimon gave him another bag, Levi gave him another bag, then he could say, I only bought it for one of them. If he packaged, each one of them gave him their own money, then the man does the one who he bought it for, he bought it. The one he didn't buy, he didn't buy it. In other words, he could say, listen, I only bought it for Reuven. Shimon and Levi, here, I'm giving you your money back. If they put it all in one lump sum, then he cannot do that. Amar Papish made Rav in another case, Hai Si Tumta Kanya. What they used to do is they would buy sellers, wine distributors would sell a whole amount, let's say 20 barrels to one store. And but the store would not take them all at one shot. He didn't have time. He didn't have room for all of them. So he would sell them, let's say 20 barrels from his big stock, and then they would mark them. A situmta is like a mark that, okay, this has been sold. Like you mark it, sold, stamped, sold to this guy. And that's a kinyan. Even though the purchaser did not pull them, he didn't make a mashicha on them, but that's a kinyan. So the Gemara says, Lamai Hilchasa. Does he really own them? And after all, this is metalton. Metalton is not nikna unless he made an actual kinyan. Rav Chaviva, she actually was kona them. Rabbanan say no. All you get is mishapara. Again, you cannot buy. So the only thing you can karka or avadim can be acquired with kesef shtar or chazaka, right? Or with money alone. But metalton, you have to make a kinyan. So the chachamim apparently are correct that. If he goes back on the deal, you can get a mishapara, but the deal is not, you can't, he's not going, the deal is not really, if he goes back on the deal, he gets a mishapara, but he didn't really make a kinyan. So Rabbanan will call mishapara. If he goes back, he's going to get a mishapara. Vilchasa and the halach is like the kibil mishapara. In other words, that it's not really a kinyan. The fact that you paid for the 20 barrels and they're stamped and marked, paid for, bought, sold, does not make a proper kinyan. So the Gemara says, but in a city where that was considered a kinyan, the minig was to make that a kinyan, it's mamash a kinyan, which shows you that the kinyan is not a doraisa, like we've said that, we said this shaila whether mashicha is a doraisa, or it's really like we say, you have to make mashicha only, we shouldn't say, technically, minatora, if you paid for something, you're koned. Just like karka metathlin too, except the rabbi said, in order so that the seller of the farmer should not say, oh, you paid me for that a month ago. Guys, by the way, there was a fire, it burnt down. I didn't even bother calling the fire department because it's your problem, not mine. So that should not happen. The rabbi said the buyer does not acquire it until he makes a kinyan. But Minat Torah acquires it as soon as he paid the money. And this goes along with what the Gemara here says here too. Because yes, normally, if you go back on a deal and you didn't make a kinyan, it's only mishapara. But if the minig is that that's a kinyan, because again, the kinyan is a symbolic demonstration of ownership that the rabbi said is required. But if that's the normal thing, the way you normally show the ownership, not by mashicha, not by hagbah, not by chalipin or some other kinyan, but simply by stamping it, paid for and sold, that's not good enough, says the Gemara. So it's mashma here, like we paskin again, like Rabbi Yochanan, that midaraisa, even money acquires it, except the rabbi said you need mashicha, so you shouldn't have some problems. Here again, technically you acquired it minat Torah as soon as you bought it. And if the minig was that that's considered a good enough of a kinyan just marking it, that's good enough too, because midaraisa, all you really need is money. So the Mishnah had said, the Mishnah on Friday's daf said that even though you can't set a price, you can't fix a price until the market has come out, right? Or if you have stock. So it said, even if one doesn't have it, the other guy has it. In other words, the price, the seller can always buy it somewhere else. Once there's a market price, that's okay. So he says, Yatzashar Poskin, even though one doesn't have, but let's say he already had stock. Let's say the person you're buying it from, what's your concern? The price is going to go up and it's going to look like rebid. But let's say you had some stuff there already. The seller had some product already, some commodity. It's okay. So the question was like this. Misha said, let's say he was the first of the harvesters. You could set a price even as long as he already has a pile of produce, of grain, or if you had a vat of grapes, a vat of olives, etc. So all those things were mentioned. If you have those things, then the seller, it's not considered rebid, even though there's no fixed market, general market price. But once the seller has those things in stock, then it's not rebid anymore. Now the Gemara is going to analyze, is that really considered in stock? If two processes are still missing, you don't have it yet. Then, or if two processes are still missing, you could fix the price. If you're only fixing, in other words, you have the grain or the olives, we'll see, or the oil or whatever, or the grapes, whatever the commodity is, if you have it and it's only missing two processes in order to be a finished product, that's okay. You can fix the price. Sholish, but if it's missing three processes, three operations are necessary, you can't fix the price. You don't really have it yet. Shmuel says it doesn't depend on how many processes are necessary to complete it. If it's in your power to finish the product, even if it's missing 100 processes, but you can do it yourself, then you can fix the price. Bidei Shemayim, but if it's not dependent on you, you need heaven to help over here. In other words, it's not finished until something happens naturally. Then even if it's missing one process, but that process comes naturally, it's not something you could do yourself, you can't fix the price yet because you don't have a finished product. Okay, now he's going to, based on that machlok between Rav and Shmuel. Rav says if it's missing three processes, you may not fix the price. And according to Shmuel, if it doesn't make any difference how many processes are missing, it's okay unless it's missing a natural process. Gemara is going to analyze each cases of the Mishnah. Mishnah Tanami, the Mishnah posted you can set a price. If you've got a pile of grain, but a pile of grain is not a finished product, it's still missing you're still missing laying it out in the sun to dry. Ulamedish, and for threshing. The animals have to thresh and stamp on the food. Umidra, and winnowing it. So you're missing three processes. So if you're missing three processes, according to Rav, how can you fix a price? It's speaking where it was already talking about where it was already laid out in the sun to dry. So all you're missing is threshing and winnowing. So Shmuel dam b'dei Shemayim, but according to Shmuel, who says if it's missing one natural process, and the winnowing is presumably considered to be natural process, so how do they winnow? They throw the stuff up in the air, and the wind comes and separates the chaff from the good food. So that's a natural process. So it's not something that he has the power. It's missing winnowing, the bidei shemayim, which is natural, meaning it's not dependent on him. He can't do it himself. The answer is efshar ben nafsasa. It's possible to do it with a fan. They could use a fan, even though they didn't have electrical fans, but they could use a sort of a hand fan. They could do the winnowing. They don't need, even if there's no wind, they could do it that way too. So it's not missing any natural processes. Okay, the next case was the al-ovid shel anab. If you have a vat of grapes, he's got the grapes already. You can sell based on that. You can set a price based on that, even though there's no market price out there, but you've already got grapes. But are the grapes fully processed? But mechusar, it's still missing machamer, heating them, and bring them into the wine, the wine press where they press the wine with the boards and all that. And ulamedish, and it also requires threshing, ulamingat, and drawing the wine into the pit. That's all part of the process. So you're missing like 4 items over here. So the Katan Rav Chia, like Rav Chia is going to say when it comes to the olives, he's going to say that in the next paragraph. Rav Chia says alachomer shel zeisim. It's speaking where the olives were already heated up. Achanami alachomer shel navna. Speaking where the grapes were already heated up. Okay, but you're still missing you're still missing 3. Even if it's heated up already, you're missing putting the grapes, the heated grapes, into the press, and threshing on them. They treaded on them. It's not really threshing. It's like treading on the grapes and drawing it into the pit. So you're still missing three operations, three processes. So it shouldn't be considered finished, and you shouldn't be able to fix the price. According to Rav, the answer is Ba'asra, in a city, Dahu Dazav, and the one who purchases it, Hudanag, he's the one who draws it into the pit. So they're really only missing two processes. What are the two? Stamping on the grapes, right? Walking on the grapes, that they stomping on them, whatever they do, and putting it into the wine press, and stepping on the grapes. So they already were heated up, and the drawing into the pit, that's done by the purchaser. Similarly, we're going to see by the vat, balamatan shel zaysim, if you're selling olives. So again, you can't sell olives until the fixed price is out there in the market. But if you have olives already, you can sell them because you've got them, and then it's not considered a bid. But again, you're missing heating it up, and bringing them into the olive press, and stepping on them, or threshing on them, and drawing it into the pit. So that's four operations. Again, speaking about where they were already heated up. So you're still missing three. You're still missing three. In a city where the one who purchases it, he's the one who also draws it into the pit. So again, you're only missing two processes, just like the case of the grapes and the wine press. Here you're missing two processes: bringing them into the olive press and stomping on them, crushing them that way. But the Azav and who the Megan, he's the one who does it. Al-Beisim Shayotzer, or calls them eggs, but it really means lumps of the potter. And he's made them into lumps. Then, if he's got them already, then he could sell that earthenware pottery, even though hasn't been formed into a kli yet. Says Marva Mai Machusar, you're still missing a few operations. You're missing lefufi, which is molding them, the avushe, drying these lumps. Iyula latuna, bring them into the oven, bring them up to the oven. Lemesref, to burn them. Ulamepik, and removing them from the oven. So you're missing several operations. The answer is going to Blafa. It was already molded. The avisha one was already dried. So if it was already molded and dried, all you're missing is what? Bringing them into the oven and removing them. Ivoika slas. Wait a minute. You're still missing something, right? We said you're missing molding and drying. You're done. But you have to bring them into the oven, right? And you have to burn them and remove them. So that's three. Bring them into the oven, burning them, and heating them up to the point where like burning and removing them. Still three. Again, Ba'asra, the same answer. Ba'asra in a city, the who does up and who to make it. The one who buys it removes it from the kiln, from the furnace. So therefore, you're only missing two operations: bringing them into the furnace, into the oven, whatever, and burning them. Balasid, on the line with the cement, from the time you put it into the furnace. B'mechusar, you're still missing makla, burning them, bafuke, and removing them, umedik, and crushing them. So that's three operations. The answer is Ba'asra, who is up, and it's a city in which the one who purchases them, Ahu Daik, he's the one who crushes them. So here you're only missing what? Only missing burning them and removing them from the furnace. According to Shmuel, it says that if it's something that a person has the power to do, even if there's 100 operations, you could still fix the price. So what did you have to give an answer and say? Well, the Mishnah said on lime, when can you sell it? When can you fix a price for that? From the time that you put it into the furnace. You don't have to put it into the furnace, even if it's missing on many operations. It's if it's something that you can do yourself, that's not considered, missing a process. And says, the time that you could put it into the kitchen. Putting it in the kitchen is a process, but you don't. It's from the time that it's fit to put in there, then it's already considered like lime, and you could sell it. You could fix the price and sell based on that, even though you only have a little bit of it. In all these cases, you don't have the entire product. If the purchaser has the whole product, then what's there to talk about? If the seller has all the product, then the purchaser just buys it and there's no issue. The issue over here is when you're paying for it now and getting the product later on. Is there a concern about rebid because the price may go up, Or do you say, no, if there's a market price already, it's okay? Or even if there's no market price, but the seller has some product in stock already, it's okay too. And you can fix a price based on that. It's not going to, doesn't look like rebid. Now, we're saying over here, though, even though, what does it mean to have the product? That you basically have the product and it's only missing 2 or less processes to be a finished product. But this goes back to the case of the lumps of pottery, the lumps of the potter. Right. So the Mishnah said that. So we said that's got to be finished. The Gemara said before that it's got to be already molded and dried, etc. Okay, it was molded and dried, and all it's missing is putting it into the oven, burning it, and then the purchaser removes it. So you're only missing 2 operations: putting it into the oven and burning it. You can't fix a price until they have already been kneaded into a lump. Once it's kneaded into a lump, then it's like you're selling a finished product. Rav Meir. Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi says, and that's only by white earth, which is rare. Dark earth, which is it's plentiful. Could go in Kfar Chananya, like in the city of the village of Chananya and its environs, or Kfar Shichem, that city or that village with its environs, where there's plenty of black earth all over the place. Poskin, you could set a price. Why? Because there's plenty of that. That's plenty for even if this seller doesn't have it, he can easily get it from someplace else. So when it's readily available, you can set a price based on that, even if it's not out in the market. There's no market price based on it, but you could sell it. It's considered like you have it in stock. Then there's not a problem of rebid. Ameimar, story. Ameimar Yoav Zuze, he gave money in advance. Michi Aili Afra, from the time that this dark earth was brought into the store. And it's, what did we just say? When is there a problem that you can't set a price unless till the item is molded and formed and kneaded into a lump? That's by white earth, which is rare. But if it's dark earth, then everybody's got that. A Maimer gave money for that. When? Only once it came into the store. So the Gemara says, come on, who does that go? Like Ikra, Meir, or Amar Chios. According to Meir, Meir didn't make any difference between white or dark earth. He said you can't sell it until it's made into a lump. And here it wasn't made into a lump. It was brought into the store loose earth. Ikra Biosi, we're going to go like a Biosi, who says that only the white earth needs to be put into a lump, but the dark earth, which is plentiful, can be sold as is. Ikra Biosi, so there's always plenty of earth. So why do you say that a Maimer only paid money for it, so to speak, in advance once the earth was in the store, once the black earth was in the store? What do you need it in the store for? According to Biosi, it's plentiful. You don't even have to have it in the store. And it can't go according to a Maimer, because a Maimer says that no matter what kind of earth it is, it's got to be in a lump before you could fix a price. It goes like Rabbi Yossi, who says that that black earth is plentiful and you could sell always based because it's always around. But in a Maimer city, that was very rare. His city, yes, we said before, Kfar Shichem, Kfar Chananya, those areas had plenty of dark earth. But in his city, it was rare. Idamai Lafra, if he's brought earth into the store, the shopkeeper or the seller, whatever he is, his barn, whatever, some chadaite, they both rely on it because he's got the earth in the store and you can pay the money for it. He's giving the money based on he figures he'll get it after it'll be processed. Elo, if he doesn't bring it to the store, lo some chadaite, because he says, if I'm giving money for it, I'm not really giving money for it and getting rebit later on, because maybe he won't even find it. I'm giving it to him like I'm speculating. Rashi says, last Rashi, Afra. He might even find this dark earth. But like a Mishapara, he's not a Mishapara like he relied on the deal. I gave you money, now you're going to go back and you can't find it. I'm just giving you money like maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. And that isn't as bad. So that's what he said, that once it was in the store, then he gave money for it. And it was considered like processed already. I guess you can give money for it and processed already once he had it in the store. And presumably it wasn't missing. Even once it was in a store, then it's not a problem because everybody's got it. So you don't have to have it like a finished product, just as long as he had the offer in the store. If it was a city where there's plenty of earth, then you don't even need that according to Rabbi Yossi. The Mishnah said that Zevel, which is plentiful in the summertime after the winter, in the winter, people throw their garbage in the street. and there's foliage and stuff like that that people step on. All that is turned into fertilizer. So you could set a price for Zevel even though nobody has it right now. We said in the Mishnah, if it's got a fixed price in the market, then you can set a price on any commodity. If there's no fixed price, but you have it in stock and it requires only very little processing left, then you could sell it based on that. What about Zevel that you don't have any at all? You don't have any at all. The Tanna Kama says you can sell it at a price. You can make up a price for it because it's always going to be plentiful. So he said, Mishnah said, all year round you could even though you don't have any in stock, but it's always plentiful in the streets. There's plenty of fertilizer. So that's what the Mishnah said. Rabbi said no, only if the seller has it in his garbage dump, only if he's got it in stock. Then afterwards it says matir. So it says Gemara the usual question matirim. Isn't that the same as Tanna Kama says you could sell fertilizer all year round, even though he doesn't have any in stock, because it's always going to be plentiful, so he could always get it. Okay, all year round. Then Rabbi says, no, only if he has it in stock. It has to be in the garbage dump. Then the Chacham were matir. So isn't the Chacham saying the same as the Tanna Kama? Amar, Rava, so Rava says, no, they're not the same. You must according to the Tanna Kama, all year around it's available. All year round, whenever you buy Zevel, it's available. And therefore, even if the seller doesn't have any in stock, it's okay. Comes along, Rabbi says, no, it's got to be in stock. Comes along the Tanna Kama, the Chacham say no. It doesn't have to be in stock, but it has to be in the summer when it's available. In the winter, it's not available yet because it hasn't been processed, so to speak. People haven't stepped on it. Top Rashi on the Daf says like this: Tanna Kama kol yemos hashana kamar upoligal Rav. Tanna Kama says you could sell it all year round because it's always going to be available. Rav says no. Loshna yemos hachama, loshna yemos hacham, ashe lo lemokra zel bashbus. Unless he has it in his garbage dump, he can't sell. B'chomatirim afal pisha ein lo, even though he doesn't have any yesh lacherim. When in yemos hachama. In the summer months, Shakol Yesh, everybody has Zevel. Why? Shekfar Nirka Venisha Bimos Haksham, because it was already rotted away. In other words, whatever the original product was, like foliage that turned into fertilizer, it already rotted and was stepped on and processed and turned into Zevel, Nasa Zevel, Avimos Haksham Lo. But now, so the Machmina between the Tanna Kama and the Chachamim is they both agreed you don't have to have it in stock. But the Tanna Kama says you could sell it any time of the year, and the Chacham say only in the summer months when it's plentiful and everybody's got it in stock. Uposikimo, and you could set a price, Kashar Gavoa. So here's the Mishnah says like this. This is important to understand. The end of the Mishnah said, and you could set a price like the higher shar. What do you mean higher shar? It doesn't mean the higher price. It means the bulk price. If later on the price is going to go lower because there's plenty available, you could say, listen, I'm giving you the money right now for this product, and this is the price. We understand that's the price. But if the price gets cheaper later on, I want the lower price. You give me a refund. I'm entitled to that, right? Like Amazon does that, right? You have something in your cart, and says the price of this item has gone down from $8,000 to $7,999.50. They tell you those things, right? The price has gone down. So you're entitled to the lower price if you fixed it. Mishnah said the last words of the Mishnah were, not the very last words. It says uposik, the 2 lines from the end of the Mishnah on Fridays. You could set the lower price that if it gets lower later on. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to post it. You don't have to set that. Even though you didn't say if the price goes lower, I want to get the lower price. The buyer could say, because again, Midaraisa, at least Midarabanan, the money is not Kona, so you didn't make a Mashiach on it yet. So you could say, and it's not considered you're not going to get a Mishapara, because everybody figures if the price goes lower, you're going to give me the lower price, right? I'm paying it now, but if the price goes lower, by the time you supply the goods, the price is lower. I want the lower price. It's sort of understood. That's what Rav Yehuda is saying. Yehuda says, even though you didn't set it and say that way, you could say either give me the lower price, or give me a refund, give me my money back. I haven't made a kinyan yet. That's Rav Yehuda's opinion. But the Tanna Kama says you have to set the lower price. Now we're telling you a story. There was a story. His father, the father-in-law had promised him a dowry, and the son-in-law went and apparently he was his agent. That's what we're assuming right now. He was his agent, and he went and he bought it. They needed furniture, whatever, household goods, whatever they needed. So he gave money for his father-in-law's dowry that was promised him. Later on, by the time they got married, the price of the Nadan had gone down. Let's say it was originally $10,000 to buy all the stuff necessary for the house, went down to $9,000. And the son-in-law only wanted to pay the $9,000. Also, the covenant came for a Papa Armalay, says, listen, the Mishnah said, if you said when you bought it, you said, listen, I'll give you 10,000, that's the price now, but if by the time you supply it goes down, I want the lower price. If you did that, so take the lower price. Elo, if you didn't say that, you got to get the original price. That's what you agreed to pay $10,000, even if the price went down. So Rabbanan said to Rav Papa, I say, below pasuk. Even if he didn't say, I want the lower price, if that's what it comes to, shakul kamikara, why would he have to pay the higher price? Most in it, he only paid cash. He didn't make a mashich on it yet. Most will come. And that didn't acquire it, so why can't he get the lower price? Since money, at least with Rabbanan, is not kona. Amalahu, so he told them, Rav Papa answered, I actually didn't mean that he was koned. I meant he'll get a mishapara because he's going back on the deal. If he didn't specify up front, he didn't make it conditional and say, I'll pay you the $10,000 if the price doesn't go lower. But if the price goes lower, I want the $9,000 price. He didn't say that. He just said, okay, the price is $10,000. That's it. And if he goes back on the deal now, he's going to get a mishapara. If he said, listen, if the price goes lower, I want the lower price. And now what happens? Who wants to go back on the deal? When he said, I want the lower price, the seller wants to go back on the deal, right? The seller says, no, I want the higher price, right? So, if he had said, I want the lower price later on, and now the seller says, no, I don't want to give you a lower price. I'll give you your money back. I don't want to sell it for lower. So, so the seller is going back on the deal. The mocher is going to get a mishapara. He'll get the curse. Elo pasuk. If he didn't say, I want the lower price if it comes to that. So who wants to go back on the deal? Lokech, he wants to go back. And Lokech says, listen, I didn't say it, but I want the lower price. I don't want to pay the higher price. So now the purchaser, the son-in-law over here, is going back on the deal. He'll makabala lokech, lokech karbe, makabala lokech mishapar. So lokech will get a mishapar. So that's what Rav Papa is saying. Rav Papa is saying, look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, if you specified it up front and you made it conditional, fine. Then you have to go with that. And if the seller doesn't want to give it to a lower price, he gets a mishapara. But if you didn't specify it, and now you want to go back on the deal because you want the lower price, you're going back on the deal, you'll get a mishapara. Amalei Rabbeinu Rav Papa, who says that the Mishnah is going to everybody? Amalei Rabbeinu Rav Papa, back in Zov, we had a machlokes with Rabbanan and Rab Shimon. Rabbanan said, whoever goes back on the deal gets a mishapara. Rab Shimon says, no, the buyer cannot go back on the deal. The seller can go back on the deal. As far as the buyer is concerned, it's all sales are final. How do you know that our Mishnah goes like the Rabbanan, the Pligala, the Rab Shimon, who argue with Rab Shimon, and they say most lokanis that the money doesn't acquire and the mishapara is on either party. And even so, money if you made the deal, if you stipulated the lower price, if you stipulated I want a lower price, if it comes to that, in other words, who says that that it depends on that our Mishnah is saying that it goes like the Rabbanan who argue with Reb Shimon, and they say the money doesn't acquire it, and therefore you got to get a mishapara. Even though money doesn't acquire, you still got to get it. Still got to get mishapara. If you stipulated that, you'll get the better price, kedahashta, because you stipulated that. And if you low pasuk, you're going to get the higher price. And even though the money does not acquire, because most lokona, even though all you're going to get is a mishapara. Dilma Rab Shimon, maybe our Mishnah who says that you have to stipulate, otherwise it doesn't work. Maybe it goes like Rab Shimon to Amar Mos Konos. He holds that money really does acquire. As far as the purchaser goes, if you stipulated the lower price for later on, you're going to get the lower price. Because the money acquired it for already. If you didn't stipulate the lower price for later on, it's the deal's done because the most was kohen. In other words, the purchaser can't go back on the deal. Avalur Rabbanan, but according to Rabbanan, that either party can go back on the deal. Bain pasuk, bain lo pasuk. So according to him, maybe whether you stipulated or you didn't stipulate that I want the lower price if the market goes down, shakul kiashta. Maybe still you can get the lower price, like Rav Yehuda says that the daita dinish tarazila, because a person always wants the lower price. And as a person is willing to pay a price, but he always in his mind goes, if the price goes lower, obviously I want the lower price. So maybe why did Rav Papa say that if you stipulated, fine. If you didn't stipulate, no, too bad. You're going to get a mishapara. Maybe that mission goes like Reb Shimon, who says that really once you bought it, you bought it. Once you paid for it, you bought it. You can't go back on the deal. But according to Rabbanan, who argue with him and say that that either party can go back on the deal, get a mishapara, but either party can go back on the deal. Maybe the Rabbanan wouldn't say that you have to stipulate. Maybe they would go like Reb Yehuda on Malay. So Papa answered, Reb Shimon b'chatara. Even Reb Shimon only said that when there was a uniform price. Then he said the lokeach can't go back on it. The trade tar but when there's two different prices, even Reb Shimon will be moda that the purchaser is always thinking in the back of his mind, if the price goes lower, I want the lower price. Dilo temachi, if you're saying, if you don't say that, and you say according to Reb Shimon, the purchaser can never go back on the deal. So how will he ever get a mishapar? Dilo temachi, mishapar lokeach Reb Shimon Leslie. Reb Shimon doesn't hold of mishapar lokeach only on the moker. Maybe you'll talk to say that, but Tanya learn mikol makom kachalacha. That's the halacha that what the most is los kana. Aval chachamim mishapar. But the Chacham said that the one who paid the mishapar midor mabal Hashem, who paid back the bad people throughout the generations, will pay back the person who goes back on his word, whether it's the purchaser or the seller. Man mikol makom lav the loshon lokeach loshon makom. It doesn't matter if it's the purchaser or the seller. Makalam mishapar. So therefore, even Reb Shimon would be motive to that. Eliki kam Reb Shimon b'chatara. When did Reb Shimon say that the purchaser cannot go back on the deal when there was a uniform price? The price you paid now, it didn't go down. The trade tari lomer, but if the price went down, he didn't say that. And therefore, Rashi explains, there is no difference between Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan. When this comes to two prices, everybody agrees that you can get a mishapar by going back on the deal. So whether you say it's the Rabbanan or you say it's Reb Shimon, it's the same thing. Rashi says that Rashi says the Treitar Miyomer Moda, second of the wide lines in Rashi. Modu the Choser Ve'enul of Elam Mishapar V'chinam Yukus. Even if you say it goes like a Shimon, the Nasim Makilas Mishapara Metzrachle Lifsuk. In order to be safe from the Mishapara, you have to stipulate up front that I want the lower price. The imlo pirish for chosbro. If he didn't stipulate that and he goes back on the deal, makam mishapara. Even according to the Rabbanan, the betrayed lapiga. When it comes to two prices, they don't argue because everybody agrees that when it comes to a purchaser, he's always thinking in his mind, if the price goes lower, I want the lower price. Therefore, the Mishnah who says that you can't go back on the deal unless you stipulate it goes both like Reb Shimon and like the Rabbanan. Reb Yehuda says you can. It's understood, and even if you didn't stipulate that, you could say, "Listen, if the price went lower, either give me the lower price or give me back my money." But according to Rabbanan, we don't say that. But over here, the purchaser over here was the son-in-law. Remember, the father-in-law apparently authorized him as a shliach to go buy the nadan. Well, if that's the case, who's going to get the mishapar over here? Who went back on the deal? The father-in-law? Okay, he wasn't the one who gave the money. The son-in-law, he wasn't the party over here. It was the father-in-law who went back on the deal. So says the Gemara, he made him a shliach. And Rashi says, take a look at Rashi, 5 lines into the white lines. The shliach shabeis chamav asu shliach lifsog. Chamav choser bo. What should the shliach over here do? Shebezim counsel, he's going to get a mishapara for saying, I want the lower price. It was the Mishaleach, the father-in-law, who sent him, and who doesn't want to pay the higher price now. So why should the shliach get the cloth? And you can't give the father-in-law the kursi, the mishapara. Why? Because he could say, I told the son-in-law to go negotiate a deal. He didn't even stipulate that if the price goes lower, I want the lower price. He's not my shliach. Like the Gemara says, I didn't send you to mess me up, so you didn't do your shliach. So he's not my shliach. So who's going to get a mishapar over here? Says the Gemara, he wasn't really a shliach. The father was a shliach. Ella Betagra, speaking about Amalek Betagra, the Zavan Masman. We're talking about the son himself was a merchant who would buy and sell. He would buy and sell. The Zavan Masman, he would buy and sell. And therefore, he was already making a deal on his father-in-law. Father-in-law told him to go buy a nadin for his daughter, the guy's prospective wife. He was going to buy it and make money on the deal with the father-in-law. He was already, fooling the father-in-law over here, and therefore he wasn't the shliach. Therefore, he was the party himself who was making a deal with this seller, and the price had gone down, and he wanted to pay the lower price. So the Mishnah said, if you stipulate it up front, that if the price goes lower, you're entitled to lower price. And if the moker doesn't want to give you the lower price, he's going back on the deal. He's going to mishapara. If you didn't stipulate and you want the lower price and you're going to go back on the deal, even though you didn't stipulate it, then the seller, you the purchaser, you go back on the deal. You'll get the mishapara. That's what Mishnah says. Yeah.
Forgive me if I missed it further. Is that a formal thing that Bezdin issues, like a public reprimand to somebody, or is it spiritual?
It's a spiritual thing.
Well, I know it's a spiritual thing, but
right.
Is it a formal reprimand?
No, I don't think so, because you don't have to do this in Bezdin. This didn't have to go to Bezdin.
What kind of question? Who gets it? God knows who gets it.
No. But the question is, are you going to be cursed for it? Okay, no. So no. In other words, the Chacham said, the Chacham made it to Kana. God will get you because you're a bad guy. But let's say you wouldn't get a Misha. Let the Chacham say, okay, the Rabbi say you have to make a Mashiach on something. If you just gave money, even though Midaraisa that might work according to Yochanan, but the rabbi said, no, it doesn't work. You need Mashiach. And if you didn't make Mashiach, you can go back on the deal. Not a problem. It was just a handshake. It doesn't count. Right. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a curse. Like today, if there's a handshake on something and you went back on the deal, what would you say? Is that a bad deal? Is that bad? No. I'm just saying no. The question is it you're right? No, but it's wrong to be cursed. Are you who is going to be cursed over here? Here the question is who's going to be cursed? But is there something to curse? Or do you say no? You don't have to be cursed. I don't think you have to go to Bez. I mean, you can go to Bez and say you're going to be Mishpah, but I don't think we said. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we said that you have to go. You don't have to go to court for this. You don't go to court unless unless the person was wrong and is going to go to court, and the court's going to issue a Misha. Misha Bar simply is like a Misha Beira. You know what I mean? It's like Misha Beira. You're wishing something, so it's like they said, if you didn't make Misha Beira, we're wishing something that should be done. Maybe you say, you don't say Misha Beira, the guy's not going to get a refuah shlema. You know what I mean? Right? You can say that, The Chacham said Misha Para. Didn't say that you have to, I don't think we said you have to go to court and get the Misha Para. You can get to be banned, to be put in chayrim, that they have to set this person put in chayrim, that. But a Misha Para, I think, it's automatic. The person went back on the deal, gets a Misha Para. Malva Adam, so now we learn that you cannot lend product for product. In other words, it's really not lending. It's like lending, right? It's not. If I lend you my shovel, you're borrowing my shovel. That's called a shoel. You're borrowing my item and returning the item. If I lend you wheat and you're getting me back wheat, you're not going to give me back the same wheat, right? You're borrowing wheat because you need the wheat now, and you're going to give me back wheat later on. So we say you shouldn't do that because the price might go up, and it's like rebid. Okay, again, it's in the form of a loan, right? And therefore that's a problem. The previous Mishnah was talking about when you're buying something, right? I'm buying product, but he doesn't have the product now. Well, if there's a fixed price, it's okay. No fixed price, not good unless the guy's got product, because otherwise it looks like rebid. It's a vak rebid. Here, when I'm lending you something, if I lend you money, $100, and I want back 120, that's rebid d'oraisa. If I lend you wheat and you give me back wheat, maybe the wheat's at a higher price, and the rabbi said you shouldn't do that. However, you could do it in this case, says the Mishnah. Malva Adam Esarisav. It's nice. The Lashon HaKodesh is better than in English, because in English I think you say lending and borrowing both for money and for my shovel. But in the Lashon of the Gemara, a lova is I'm giving you something, you're not going to give back the same thing. I'm giving you money. I'm lending you $100. You're not going to give back the same $100 bill. That's whereas shoel is you're borrowing an item and giving back the same item. So here we say malva adam esarisav. You can lend your sharecroppers chitin b'chitin. You could do that. You're allowed to do that. Lizera for seed, if he's going to use it for seed. Avalolech, but not to eat. If he's going to get it for eat, then already it's like chitin bechitin. But in this case, for Arisa of your sharecropper, you could give it to him. Why is that? Well, more will explain. Rav Meir was makbid though. Why do we say this? Because Rav Meir was very makbid. Rav Meir malva as a reason he would lend his. He would not do what we just said. He would give his. He did it in this form. He would lend his sharecropper seed, chitin bechitin, lezera for wheat, biyoker, even when it was at a higher price. For huzla, if it went down in price, he would only take the lower price. Obazol, or it was a lower price, book and it went up in price. Notam and kashar zol. In other words, Rav Meir got around this problem because he would always take the lower price. If the price was higher, and then at the time the guy was returning, the price was lower, he would accept it at the lower price. And if the price went up, he would only make him pay according to the lower price. In other words, the amount of wheat, if the wheat was worth a bushel, was worth $1, and later on it became worth $2, he would only take back a half a bushel. He would only take back $1 worth. And if the price went down, he would take the lower price. In other words, if later on it was 50 cents for a bushel, he would only take 50 cents worth. Wanted to be machmar on himself. In other words, you could do it in a way where you make sure that there's no rebid. That's what Ramliel did. But what's the case itself? Why are you lending money to your sharecropper? Why are you lending seed to your sharecropper? Because he doesn't have any seed, right? Well, who's supposed to supply the seed? The sharecropper gets a share, right? He gets 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever he gets. What's the case? Ton of abundance. We're going to see them here. Ton of the rabbi said like this in the Brisa. That's like our Mishnah. Lizera, for seed, you're going to plant it. Medvar now, the Brisa adds a Medvar Murim, Shul Yoret, where the sharecropper hasn't yet begun working the field. He hasn't begun plowing the field. He didn't go down into the field. Avul Yoret, but if he went down into the field, then it's also. So, wait. Now, what's going on over here? My Mishnah, our Mishnah didn't make any difference if he went into the field, not going to the field. She said you're allowed to lend, you lend the sharecropper seed, period. Right? As long as he's not getting enough for food, for seed, you're allowed to. So, our Mishnah didn't make any difference between the lokamaflik bein yor or bein yor. Our Mishnah didn't make any difference whether he went into the field, started working or not. Umay shatana bra, the kamaflik bein yor bein yor. And the time of the Brisa makes a difference whether he started working in the field or not. Amar Rava, so Rava says it's a difficult question. Rav Idi Asbro Nele. Rav Idi explained to me the Mishnah and the Brisa are talking about two different cases. Basra the Tani done in the city of our Tana, of our Mishnah, who didn't make a difference. Arisa Yabisra. The normal custom was the sharecropper would supply the seed, right? He would get a certain percentage. Let's say he got 25%, but he would supply the seed. But over here, he didn't have any seed. So bein yored, bein lo yored, it didn't make any difference if he worked the field, if he started plowing the field. He didn't have any seed. Kama de lo yored bizra, as long as the owner who had to lend him seed didn't give him seed, matzi masalakla, he could push him off and say, you have no seed, get out of here. I don't care if you started working, you have no seed. You're supposed to supply the seed. You don't have any seed. Okay, I'll give you the seed, but until I give you the seed, you haven't begun working. When he gave him the seed and he started working, over here it's not a loan. He gave him the seed like this. Yes, I'm going to give you you're supposed to supply the seed, right? You don't have any seed. Okay, I'll give you the seed, but that comes off the top. You're supposed to take 25%, right? But whatever the 25% comes out to be, and we're going to deduct the cost of the seed. So it wasn't like a loan and you're going to give it back to me. He went in there knowing already he supplied the seed, so I'm going to deduct that from the 25%. So that's the deal he went into a fund. It wasn't like I'm lending you the seed, you're going to be back the seed. He already went in there knowing he's going to get 25% less the seed, right? But in the city of the Brisa, the city of the town of the Brisa, Moriario Bizra, the custom was that the owner of the field supplies the seed, right? But what happened? The owner supplies the field, but he told him this time you're going to supply the seed. Then he didn't have any seed. In other words, he changed the custom and he said that the custom was that the owner of the field supplies the seed, but he told him in this case, you're going to supply, the sharecropper, are going to supply the seed. Elo Yorad, if he hasn't gone in there yet, the Muslim is like to push him off because you're supposed to supply the seed, but I'm going to do it now. So again, when I give you the seed, he went into the field knowing because the owner is supposed to supply the seed, but the sharecropper agreed that he'll supply the seed, and then he didn't have any. So the owner had to lend him the seed. But when he lent him the seed, it was with an understanding that he's going to take less of that's going to come off the 25%. That's why If he hasn't gone in yet to the field, so he could say, look, I'm not giving you, as long as I haven't given you the seed yet, when I give you the seed, you're going to start working, we're going to deduct whatever the cost of the seed was from the 25%. In other words, the price of the seed was already built in that he's going to deduct it from the 25%. But if he started working already, because he had agreed to start working under those conditions. Once he started working, he can't push him off because it was the custom for because the owner was supposed to apply the seed. So if the sharecropper went in there figuring that he's going to get the seed from the owner, and only afterwards he made a deal, then it's also because then he lent it to him because he went into the field knowing that he's supposed to work the field and the owner's supposed to apply the seed. The fact that the owner changed the deal and then said, you supply it, and then I'm going to supply it, but when he gave him the seed, then it was like a loan, and that's forbidden. You could tell somebody else, lend me an amount of wheat, even though we said lending for wheat and returning for wheat is a problem. But he could say, this is the price. Lend me a bushel or a core of wheat, and he fixed the price for it. He said, okay, it's $100 a bushel. Okay, then he says, you could do because you fixed the price. You owe me $100. Huzla, if the price went down, no, so give him the wheat. Hooker, if it went up, no, so give the money. Says the Gemara of Cuts. Once he set a price, the price is $100. What's the difference if it went up or went down in value? The price is $100. This is what it means. In low cutsats, if he didn't set a price, he didn't say it's $100 a bushel. Huzlu, if the price went down, no tochita, then there's no rebit involved. He could take the wheat back. Hooker, if the price went up, no sindemayim, he gives the value. Which value? The original value, because otherwise it's rebit. If you lend somebody a bushel of wheat and he returns a bushel of wheat, that could be ribit involved. But if he gave you a bushel of wheat and you return to him the bushel of wheat, which is now at a lower price, there's no rebit. And if it's at a higher price, but you pay back the original price, there's also no rebit, and that's what you do to solve the problem. All right, we'll pick it up here tomorrow from the mission. Have a good day.